Hi guys, best regards from Ingolstadt. I have heard that you entered the Kamel GT Championship this year in the good old GTO car, so I wish you best of luck and a lot of success.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
Spa turned the GTO Championship upside down. With many of the top drivers unable to attend, Neidhart grabbed the opportunity with both hands and took his first win of the season along with the points lead. But just like last week's Belgian circuit was considered a classic and challenging track, today's race at Suzuka also presents the drivers with a tough ask. Will it cause any of them to falter? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 10 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Suzuka's roots as a test track certainly shine through even to today. It's a wide mix of corners packed into a small footprint. Let's show you exactly what we mean by hopping on board with our track guide.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Suzuka. Down the front stretch, you're going to be climbing to around 170 miles an hour, so the entry to turn 1 will require incredible precision. Slow it as it's turning and get it to bite through turn 2, which acts as a continuous corner. Switch sides quickly and then you're chucked into the S's. The cornering speed of this machine means you'll be carrying quite a bit of momentum, but that doesn't mean you can get lax on the racing line. Keeping up your rhythm and setting up for each subsequent corner will be critical through here, or else you'll lose time hand over fist. Once you come off the final left-hander, you'll be flying through Dunlop, which is a frighteningly fast, flat-out sweeper. Hug the car off to the left and then spot your brake marker for Degner 1. You've got to be very aggressive on that inside curve, get it settled, and roll it up even more for Degner 2. As you fly under the bridge, the acceleration of this beast makes it a very short burst to the hairpin. That kinked entry will test the brave because you can get on the brakes very, very late. Try to square off the exit, but be careful about getting back onto the power. The turbo lag means you won't feel it until it hits the higher revs, and those low gear corners are gonna be touchy. You've got a little breather with turn 12, which is another gentle curve where you won't have to lift. However, make sure to keep the car off to the right to line up for spoon. The first apex here has a quick entry with a little squirt in the middle of the turn. The second apex is much slower and much more important to nail. Coming off of here will require excellent throttle control to get the most out of the long backstretch. The sooner you're on the gas, the more straight line speed you'll extract. 130R will be flat out, but I still wouldn't recommend trying it too wide. Drift the car off to the left and then try to get it slowed up for the Casio triangle where you're likely to see some overtakes. Once again, this is going to be a real test of who has the best throttle control. The turbo is so powerful that drivers will be feathering it all the way around the final right-hand bend. The fastest cars out of here will be the ones making the most out of their right foot. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Suzuka.
AC around from on board the Nissan, which is going to be quick around here for sure, especially some of these swift corners. But Adam, tell us a little bit more about this combination.
Sure, Joe. One of the most technical tracks Kamel visits this season, Suzuka Kokusai Shinkotsu, is a 3.6 mile or 5.8 kilometer, 17 turn track. And while those stats may not seem like much, it's how they're distributed that makes this place hard to drive. Nissan drivers will delight in the wide assortment of fast sweeping switchbacks Suzuka has to offer, while the Audis will be enjoying a couple of fast draft straights interspersed with the above switchbacks, which make for good passing opportunities for the Brave. This track has one of the greatest speed differentials of the season. Combine that with a narrow racing surface and a track where the racing line crosses from right to left many times, and you've got a recipe for difficult multi-class action. Nissans will have to beware of the Audis during the fast corners, and the Audis will have to be very careful of the Nissans' slow acceleration out of the hairpin and the chicane. This place has always produced good battles for us, Joe. But what do those battles for the championship look like?
Well, if we start out with the prototypes, with Iamaki not showing last week, Lepisto has stepped up to the front, but it's still very tight. There's only 2 points between our two Finns leading the way. Now, you might look at that 58 points back to Gerber and think, well, this is now down to those two. But to borrow an outdated phrase, Gerber's got his groove back. He has been winning races again. He has at least 3 of them compared to the 2 to Lepisto and Iamaki each. So I did not put it past him to run them down, give them a challenge come the final round for the championship. Jungbluth has been consistent, but probably not as likely to gain on them, and then Suarez rounds out the top 5. What about the GTO championship?
Well, the GTO Championship has separated quite a bit since last week when Phil and Yoni were not there. So Dennis Neidhart ended up taking the win and has 14 points over Phil Lake right now. And Yoni Hagner is only about 25 points behind, with Franco Scurry 28 points behind that, and Esko Letanemi for the first time into the top 5, 48 points behind that as well.
Then if we look at the Milk Zoo GTO Championship, this is just for those GTO drivers, but only the Italians. This is sponsored by Milk Zoo, so big thanks to them for doing this for another season. And up at the top of it, as we try to get those Milk Zoo points on the screen here, it's been mostly... We've been mostly having Franco Scurry leading that way for much of the time. And Ponti is actually... Here we go, as we've now got those... Joe Dorsha, is the one in second, a long ways back. A little bit more of a gap even down to De Pasqua as well in third. It's really been Scurry's championship to lose. Apologies there for a little bit of a wait on this. So... it's not really much of a fight up at the top. A little bit of a battles down there between 4th and 5th for Colin could find himself gaining, but they've been spreading apart as things have been going on. And in case we have viewers who haven't watched this series before, why don't we bring up those race details, Adam?
Yeah, this is the 10th round of 12 here for the Kamel GT series. This is an open series for everyone. This is an official iRacing series, so you can jump in and join these guys if you'd like to, and join them for 40 minutes around most of these tracks, or 60 minutes for endurance. Today, it's the 40-minute setup, which means that no pit stops, an open setup with full fuel available, so everyone's going to be just fine there. They have no fast repair in this series, and 17 points equals a drive-through penalty, and 25 incident points is going to get you DQ'd, so you got to be a little careful.
Right now, qualifying is going on, and Justin Albrecht leads the way with the provisional pole, but Antti Lepisto is in second right now. So our championship leader on his second lap. We're just going to see him coming across the line now as he finishes up this second time. Let's see if he can gain that 1/10 that he has to make up. And he does. So Antti Lepisto to the pole. Iamaki finishes his second lap, but he does not improve, so he will stay in third. Interesting stuff. Down in the GTOs, Yoni Hagner, who has been fast, even though he's not leading the points, when he does show up, he has been tough to beat. He's actually got more wins than anybody in that class right now, with 4 of them. And so let's see if he can improve on this pole time that he is just finishing up for his second lap.
Yeah, another interesting thing to note here is with Yoni Hagner in the lead, Phil Lake has not shown up for this race either, so this is going to put him quite a ways out of the championship contention. So Yoni's going to have to do all the legwork to catch up to Dennis Neidhart here.
He comes up the backstretch and around 130R, braking hard down into the Casio triangle. A 2-minute .4 is less than a tenth ahead of Villy Rolla right now, so he wants to make that a little bit more comfortable. Let's see what it is. It is not quicker, about a tenth slower for him. But Ruola, I just saw, is in the pit, so he must have had an accident on his second lap. So he won't have an opportunity to respond. It is now up to Ove Trankrate and Rob Olenek to try to do something. And now I take that back. Olenek is also done.
Only leaves a couple of drivers on the track, such as Nico Avriliomi. He's going to go through. He's coming up to the hairpins at this point. Nico, and we're taking a look at Esco, actually, who's going to cross the line before him. And Esco is going to improve just by 1/10, though.
Showing that lap didn't score for him on mine, so I think he must have had an off track somewhere. So the number 20 stays down in 9th. That is not good news because he is one of the ones that has won this season. Let's look at Alex Moss as well, sitting in 11th, coming up to 130R, a 2029. Bit of a spread here in the GTO class, so that hopefully will mean better things for our GTPs, as they'll have time to try and pick their way through if they do spread out by the time they catch them.
Yeah, Joe, Alex Moss has actually improved significantly over the course of the season. He used to be running towards the back, and recently he's been qualifying quite well, now in that 11th position. Ove Trankrate, he's going to try and improve his time, but he looks like he's on a starting of a flyer, so that's not going to work for him considering qualifying has ended now.
So let's go through our starting order for today. The prototypes have Antti Lepisto on the pole. Justin Albrecht. Interesting that he's been beaten by Lepisto here. He's usually been quick when he shows up. So Albrecht starting second and Iamaki behind them in third. Outside of that second row, how about this? We didn't mention Martin Krejcik, incredibly quick today with a 4th place. Steve Eichrock will be P5 with Laust Olsen in 6th. Kitty Engstrom, unusually far down for him, starting in 7th with Fabian Newbooth in 8th. And you got Stephen Jones in 9th and Heitor Sintes Galindo rounding out your top 10. Pablo Suarez will be P11 and Guillermo Kramer in 12th, followed by Mike Ruder in 13th, Robert Yan de Jong in 14th, and Roberto De Filipis in 15th.
Yoni Hagner is going to take pole in the Audi GTOs with Billy Roll lining up alongside him. Ove Trankrate is going to start off third with Rob Olenek in 4th place. Then we have Nico Avriliomi starting off in 5th and Michael Houghton in 6th place, with Dennis Neidhart all the way down in 7th. A tough start for him, right in front of Reed Miller, who challenged him a good ways into last race in 8th. And we have Esko Letaniemi in 9th, with Franco Scurry in 10th. Alex Moss is going to start off P11 with Daniel Sadro starting off P12. Joseph Earlbach P13. Hideki Koivisto is going to start off P14 with Juan Ignacio Jorducha starting off in 15th position. Remigio De Pasqua in 16th. Chad Peterson 17th. Alexandro Nocera in 18th. And Robert Murphy and Fabrizio Raffa round out your top 20. Then we have Giulio Forcolin, Mike Zweep, Darren Dean, and Gabriel Genesis as our rounding out the GTO field.
Big GTO field here today, especially in comparison to only 15 for the prototypes, with nearly 40 cars showing up. And I'm seeing at least one of them, unfortunately, won't take the start because Darren Dean, the Texan, has unfortunately, looks like he's left the session because he is grayed out on my screen. Otherwise, everybody else is out there and rolling. So thankfully have a short pace lap here. And we're going to get to go racing for 40 minutes here. So we take a look at the weather. A little bit hot on the track surface here today, about 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and also a little bit windy. Won't affect the GTOs so much as it will the prototypes. We do have to keep an eye out for gusts with how much they are affected by the downforce. All right, what is Lepisto going to do? He's going to go early. Green flag is out as they rush down the front stretch. Already single file is down to the inside. Justin Albrecht covers off Ardo Iamaki, mostly single file there in the front group, although Albrecht taking it deep into the braking zone. Looking good for the prototypes through 1 and 2, relatively clean and relatively single file. So let's go to the GTOs.
The Glacier Racing drivers were a little hesitant off the line, but they are still 1-2 with Joni Hagner up ahead of Villiers. Then right behind them is Ove Trangrade. Rob Olenek has slotted into that 4th position with Michael Houghton, the lone Dirty Torque driver, out there in 5th, and they're all single file as they snake through the S's here.
So looking good here at the start, but still a lot of lap to go and some very tricky corners coming up. You can see a little bit of a challenge there in the midst of that GTO pack. I'm looking at alternate lines potentially. But already our GTPs are working their way through the hairpin, one of the few places you can maybe get past. And we already have some accidents happening. Looks like Ingstrom got turned around. I think that was Sintez Guindo.
Yeah, that was in the hairpin. That's not a difficult place to spin someone around and accidentally get under their wing, as the GTP lead is quite close up there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a 3-car breakaway. It is Lepisto leading Albrecht, with Yamaki giving chase, and then they got a big gap, about a 1.5 seconds back to Martin Krejcik, who is dealing with Laust Olsen on his own right now. Wonder if we'll see anything into the Casio Triangle. Down into the braking zone. It's awful close between Albrecht and Yamaki, but nothing doing between them. They're going to stay in order.
Back in the GTOs, they're just coming through 130R right now. They're very difficult. These cars have a very difficult time going through 130R. The car just wants to fall off the side of the road. But this top 5 is really, really close together, with Michael Houghton passing Nico Avriliomi at the beginning of this race. So it's Joni Hagner, Willy Rolla, Ove Trangrade, Rob Olenek, and Michael Houghton.
Neidhart is very close to Arvelomi as well. Remember, Dennis will probably want to be getting farther up, considering he leads the championship. He hasn't really had the pace to go for wins most cases, but again, the lack of big talent last round at Spa certainly left him an open goal. You can see he's got it up against him today with a lot of fast drivers. Olenek, Trangrade, Rolla, Hagner all up there leading the way.
Yeah, it's very close for the lead, but I would expect those Glacier Racing drivers to stay nose to tail, at least through the S's. It's one of those things where you just don't want to risk breaking out your teammate up in the lead, so things can be very difficult with those two.
I have to imagine there's going to be at least a little bit of respect between them until they get closer to the end, if they can break away from Ove Trangrade. Up at the front of the prototypes, though, we might have a pass on our hands, because here comes Justin Albrecht to the inside, coming through 130R side by side, out into the runoff there for Antti Lepisto, but he keeps it together and doesn't spin the car. He lets it go for now, as we now look through the 007 cam back at the fin from Justin Albrecht, who's going to lead the next lap through.
Yeah, just a very textbook move, getting a great run onto the straight through 130R. Justin Albrecht doing a fantastic job taking away Lepisto's line. These top 3 have broken away the likes of 3 seconds ahead of Martin Krejcik. So that is Justin Albrecht, Antti Lepisto, and Arno Iamaki at the lead of this field.
Certainly allows them to battle a little bit if they need to, and they'll probably want to try and sort those positions out now before they catch the tail end of the GTOs. It's a long lap around here, so they got quite a bit of time before they catch the back end of that slower field.
Speaking of that slower field, I've been watching Franco Scurri in the 17th position in the Audis. He is battling very hard with Remigio De Pasco, one of his Milk Zoo competitors, and he's got Alexandro Notero behind him, and it looks like De Pasco missed a shift, and so it's going to allow Franco Scurri up the inside here, and he's going to battle it out through the inside of one. Let's see whether or not Remigio tries to take it on the outside. He does not. He gives the position to Franco. Franco a little loose into the corner, but a good pass nonetheless.
Got to watch out for Nocera right there behind him. So Scurri leading the way of those few. He's down in 16th, though, with this huge field. So not as going to be as big of a points day for Franco. Of course, he does have Joe Dorsha ahead of him in that Milk Zoo Championship in this race, not necessarily in the points. Oh, and did we lose Justin Albrecht? No, it looks like he's still here.
No, Justin's just out to quite a significant lead, 1.5 seconds already since making that pass on Antti Lepisto, and Arlo Iamaki's trying to challenge Lepisto for that position. And Steve Bycroft has actually gone off in the finals corner, I believe. So Bycroft losing significant positions.
Yeah, he's going to lose another one because here comes Heitor Sintes Guindo. Already had some contact a little bit earlier in this race. Can he manage to keep from making more contact? They're going to go side by side down into turns 1 and 2. This is another tough one to hold it together, and they do it, but the inside into the S's goes to Bycroft, and he still can't keep him back.
Now, it looked like Bycroft just backed out of that one a little bit. He probably saw the damage on Heitor and was like, uh-oh, I don't know if I want to get involved in that. So Bycroft choosing to live to fight another day.
Let's head back to the lead of the GTOs because this has been relatively tight. Hagner did just pull away a little bit out of this final turn. He got a good exit coming down the front stretch, but Rolas also had Trangrade right up underneath that rear wing. And they're also trailed by Olenek and Houghton still. These 5 have been staying tight together, probably a little bit due to the draft, I imagine. And they're trying to, again, make as much ground as they can before the lap traffic starts to become a factor at this track.
Yeah, I can't tell whether or not Joni Hagner is struggling through the corners or whether he's just preserving his tire grip, because he's definitely slower through the corners than the rest of the pack behind him, and that's kind of accordioning these guys together. And so Ove Trangrade, the only reason he's been able to get close to Billy Roll is because Billy's being held up in the corners a little bit by Joni Hagner. But Joni has such good drive off the corners that he's able to pull away even from the draft. So that was, I can tell, that was definitely a setup consideration for Joni. Oh, as Billy goes extremely wide and hits the wall. Billy out of second now.
In fact, out of a lot of places, as they come up to the hairpin, he stops before Neidhart can get. Let's watch and see exactly how this happened. I think maybe just got a little bit of wheel spin here.
Yeah, wheel spin off on the AstroTurf on that left rear tire. This is very unusual for the GTOs, though, to see this happen. We're going to watch it on board and watch his hands at work here. He's going to come through this sharp corner, get his left rear on the AstroTurf, and the car's just going to slip away from him.
I think he bottomed out a little bit on that curb, and that might have helped it too. But it was very sudden. There you could see on the replay, just no time to react, and he's down to 7th. We have no idea how damaged that car is.
Yeah, so that's given Joni Hagner a way to roll away from the field because Ove Trangrade has not been able to close the gap, but Rob Olenek's been challenging Ove down this last corner. He was not able to make it work through 130R, but that's brought Michael Houghton in and Billy Rolla in as well as he tries to recover.
Yep, this is a good battle here. And Trangrade and Hagner, or at least Hagner trying to pull away. Trangrade still dealing with the pressure from behind. One thing to note is that Robert Jan de Jong had an incident we don't need to go to. He spun out of the hairpin, hit the wall, got it going once again, but seems to be struggling and a little bit off the pace because of that.
Wow, this battle here is now 5 cars long with Dennis Neidhart closing up to the back of them as well. So this is going to get very tense because this track is difficult to pass at. It's very narrow with lots of sweeping corners, and that could be dangerous to try and make a pass as an Audi. We're going to see whether or not anyone can make a move here on Ove Trangrade.
Well, and if anybody tries to make a move on Ove or anyone in that line, it's going to set up a chain reaction most likely. You're going to see a lot of people try to take advantage of anyone going slow with them being a little offline due to an attack. No one doing anything into the hairpin this time. In fact, they're going to stretch out a little bit. A great exit from Olenek to get himself away from Houghton. Could we see maybe Rolla try and make some moves to get back forward? Is this car not as damaged as we assumed? Nothing into Spoon, but a big mistake there from Ove Trangrade as he's put offline. Car slides on the second apex. Can't hold on to it quite. So Olenek is going to get the inside, but now it's a drag race up to 130R. Who is brave enough to hold out, or will they both go through side by side? This is going to cause them to go very slow if they do so, and they are going to try and gut it out. Here comes Houghton. He's got a head of steam on both of them. He comes up to the outside of Ove Trangrade down into the Casio Triangle. So does Neidhart on Rolla, and unfortunately, he's not able to make it on Ove Trangrate, but it looks like Neidhart also not able to make the pass on Billy.
Yeah, this is a very close battle. Definitely the closest on track between these 5 drivers. This is exactly what we love to see coming out of these GTOs. Oh, look at that. That is Dennis Neidhart looking to the inside of Rolla there in the background. But these 5 are battling for second position, and this has allowed Joni Hagner to get out to a 3.5-second lead.
I said it was going to be a bit of a chain reaction, and it certainly was. But Ardo Iamaki has caught up to his fellow Finn. Again, he wants to try and pass him because he's lost the championship lead. So it's important that he finish ahead of him on track as he takes a little peek to the inside, down in a 1 and 2, but a little bit far back for anything serious. And now they've caught the back of the GTO field. That was a little bit of a car off. That's De Pasqua, who had spun off course in 2.
Man, these two are very close together, and Ardo has been catching the back of Antilopisto for quite a while now, but just has not been able to make it work. He's probably hoping that traffic's going to make that work for him. Let's see whether or not he has a good opportunity for it.
He had to really sneak inside of Robert Murphy there. Good thing Murphy saw him come and gave him space at the apex. As they now find their way out of the S's. Still a lot of these GTOs to go. They get a brief break here through the Degners. Up next for them is Joe Dorsha, ahead of Chad, or behind Chad Peterson, starting to get a little bit more cluttered together. Oh, locking up the brakes with a look to the inside from Iamaki into the hairpin. Still can't make it stick.
Yeah, it was a good move from Antilopisto to cover off that inside. That slows down Ardo Iamaki and makes him lose that draft bit just a little bit going into this pack of GTO.
And we might have something for our GTOs. I'll give a shout if they have a pass down there. Looks like that's not going to happen. So let's stay with this battle on screen. Iamaki
And he got held up a little bit. Ooh, he's going to look to the inside?
No.
Oh, not quite.
Could maybe use this traffic as a pick. Ooh, Franco Scurry with a good heads up, just stays all the way off to the side and lets them through. So that doesn't offer an opportunity to Iamaki this time. Then they've got Erlbach up in front of them. They might actually catch him coming into the braking of 1. This could be close as they run him down the front stretch. I think Albrecht might be able to sneak through, but what about, or excuse me, Lepisto will sneak through, but what about Iamaki? And they're both on by.
Yeah, these two still going neck and neck, and while we've been watching them, the battle for second place in the GTOs has grown to 6 cars. Nico Avralomi has joined that group. He is now back there in 7th position behind all of these guys, and Joni Hagner out to a 4-second lead now over this group.
It's starting to stack them up quite a bit, although they've spread out slightly. Elton looks to be a little bit under attack from Ruola, who desperately wants to regain the ground that he lost from his mistake. And watch from on board the Finn, looking ahead to Michael, heading up the Spoon Curve. Sometimes passes happen in here, but it's out of the corner that you want to set the car up.
Yeah, these drivers are struggling with those right side tires, which are going to be very hot coming out of this corner. And you have to cool them, try and cool them down a little bit going into 130R, which is very tough for these Audis. But look at the draft they're able to get now.
Yeah, Michael especially going to be a good one here to Villy. Still not quite good enough to close him in.
Oh!
Could maybe try and make a dive.
We had our first incident of multi-class wrecks. Suarez just ran into the back of one of our GTOs accidentally. I think that was Robert Murphy.
It was indeed. Robert's been having a bit of a rough day with our prototypes. You know what, though? I'd put this one on Murphy, though. We're going to see on the replay here. He tries to give space, and he was maybe a little too polite because he's going to touch the grass.
Oh.
Can't see it from on the onboard here, but then he's going to tip into Suarez.
We're going to see it from up top here, and Suarez is trying to give room to Murphy, and Murphy just... Oh, yeah, Murphy gets into the grass there, and he tried to lock it down, but to no avail, unfortunately.
Just unfortunate timing between the two of them. Sometimes the nature of this sort of racing, it's tough for those GTOs to try and make those quick corners. Let's head to 4th, though, because Oh, did we just have a change for position? Krejcik with an off.
Yeah, Krejcik got held up by Hideki Koivisto through the S's.
He was trying to challenge Laust Olsen, and instead of gaining a position, he loses one, and Fabian Ljungblad slips through. Let's look at the replay.
Yeah, this is a very, very stressful situation. Look at that. The Audi just cutting across the track. Martin had nowhere to go. He just had to log up the brakes and go straight to avoid the incident.
Yeah, I get the sense, and you would know better than me, Adam, since you've done a lot of racing down on track in this series, that when you're in the Nissan, it seems like you you have to take a guess what the car ahead is going to do and hope that you're guessing right.
Yeah, and as an Audi, you just have to take that move because otherwise you're the one going into the grass and losing a bunch of time. So he did have to cut across the track there in the S's. There's nowhere else he could have gone in that situation.
Let's head back to the battle for third in our GTOs with Ove Trangerade now being chased by Roll, who did get by Houghton when we were looking at those replays. I didn't quite see where this happened, but he's made up one spot. Now he's going to try and get back onto the podium.
Yeah, these guys are doing a great job. Let's take a look at this replay to see how the pass was done.
Hold on. Sorry, I thought Roll was taking a look on Trangerade there for a second. I thought he was going to have a go at him. Not going to see a pass here through the S's. Now I think we can check on that replay. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look at this pass, and it was just one of the fascinating ones where you are able to make a pass on the outside. Believe it or not, the outside line is preferred into turn one because of how long it is. We're going to see this happen here as Billy just outbrakes Michael into the corner.
Wow. Not easy around the outside. So brilliant job. We come back live now. Trangerade still holding on to third. Let's stick with this battle for just a moment because keeping half an eye on those prototypes down through the hairpin. Olenek holding them all at bay, but it's been a bit of a plug on a bunch of cars.
Yeah, and these Audis are just being held up behind Olnick, and with Joni Hagner out to a 5-second lead, things are very tense. But we should go down to P6 for the GTPs because Aitor Sintez-Guindo has been trying to get past Martin Krejcik for the better part of a lap, and these guys are now side by side as they come onto the straight.
Yeah, just sent it into Spoon Curve. I'm amazed that he did that as well as he did. He gets a better run, maybe a little less downforce on that car as he overtakes Krejcik with ease. Now Kitty Engstrom is starting to come up. Now, if I recall correctly, it was Engstrom and Sintez-Guindo that got into each other.
Oh,
they're gonna have a wreck in front of them, and that's between Houghton and Neidhart. They're both off track. Neidhart comes back on. This could interrupt our battle here, as they're going to be very slow down the front stretch. And they're, let's see, that's Arvelomi now going to take a shot as they go too wide, with Sintez-Guindo managing to get through. But Krejcik not able to do so, as once again contact, and now they're distracted and they get touched by Krejcik. Neidhart has to catch the car as he goes off course, four-wheel drift, and he comes back on successfully.
This is chaos, and it's still going. We still have Martin Krejcik and Kitty Engstrom battling up ahead for that position, for sixth position. These guys are right one next to another as they try and go past Michael Houghton.
I don't know how they keep track of all of this. Krejcik does manage to get seventh, but Aitor Sintez-Guindo moves him up to sixth. Engstrom still down in eighth position. For the GTOs, Houghton is in fifth, Neidhart is in sixth after that, and Arvelomi winds up seventh.
All right, let's take a look at this replay while we still have the opportunity to, because this is complete chaos going into the final chicane.
Yeah, that's what kicked it all off. At the same time that they had that battle erupting behind them, Neidhart and Houghton side by side. Unfortunately, it came to blows. Looks like Houghton tried to cut him off at the apex, but wasn't clear. But now, as they come up to the front stretch, going three wide with GTP traffic just doesn't quite work out.
No, and then, yeah, that's just Dennis Neidhart being very aggressive there as we just had a pass on track that was Kitty Engstrom on Martin Kraytrick. And Kraytrick, Joe, I think Kraytrick's escapade through the grass has damaged his under tray because he's lost a lot of speed on the straights.
Well, he was already a little bit slow with Sintez Guindo, so it may have added to it.
Yeah, and now he's
certainly
getting
had a
passed by
little bit of a touch,
Bycroft easily, so this is very significant for him.
Bycroft's got to work for it, though. And I think now he's got that one locked down. So the number 2 moves into 8th position. Oh, and you know what? Neidhart may have taken too much damage from all this contact because he's in pit lane. And pit stops are not scheduled in this series.
And while we're watching this, Ardo Iamaki has made the pass on Antti Lapisto just now.
It all happens at once. This happened into the hairpin. No, it was out. It was between the hairpin and the and Degner 2.
This is why we love Kamel. Action everywhere. Things happening all over the track. We can only cover half of it. Wow, look at that big shake from Antti Lapisto as he was coming off the corner. That's what allowed Ardo Iamaki to get by.
Tried to cover things off, but there was no stopping that black and white number 4 who just sneaks through. This is not over yet, though. The battle for second still on between them.
Yeah, these two are still going to be very close together. We're taking a look at another battle on track. Oh gosh, it's Ove Traeger going off track. This is going to allow Willy Rolla to get quite close, and here comes Mike Ruder.
Oh no!
And oh no!
Bycroft into 2 cars at once. Rolla off and Traeger off. Michael Houghton picks up 2 spots with ease and moves himself onto the podium.
This is the chaos of multi-class racing. This is what it's all about, and you have to navigate this. This is such a hard track to do this. It's so thin. We're going to watch this right now as the GTPs come roaring up to the GTOs into the braking zone, and just gets a little bit too close, and Bycroft hitting 2 cars.
And my apologies, that's not Bycroft, that's Kramer. Similarly painted car there in the yellow.
And if we could stay with this, actually, and go to watch Willy Rolla, he just got sandwiched between two GTPs. We're going to see it here as he gets through 130R.
Again, we're looking for Kramer, not Bycroft. Apologies to our director there.
And we're going to watch Willy Rolla here. Watch this as he gets sandwiched between 2 GTPs coming through 130R.
Here's the fin. Yeah, they're just good job holding his head together as we come back live. So this puts him down in 5th. Trangarade is going again. He's down to 7th. Arvelomi got promoted to 4th in that. That turned things all sorts of topsy-turvy.
Oh, and Suarez is off again, Joe.
Ooh. He's not been having a good day. That sends him down to 13th.
And this was, I believe this was on his own. He had Michael Houghton behind him, but yeah, this was all on his own.
Back into 5th, and those GTOs. Willy Rolla, just not a good day at the office here. Giving chase on Arvelomi, but he's got to look in his mirrors because Reed Miller's coming up behind. And with a couple hard contacts with the wall and other cars now, is a straight line speed for the number 7 any good? Let's see if Reed Miller starts to gain.
And Reed's coming off the corner, but it looks like Willy is doing okay right now. He's not in the draft, so he's struggling a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he's safe for now. He's got 15 minutes left to go. I'm sure he just wants to see the checkered flag at this point and get this day over with. Neatly through the Casio triangle. He's got a long ways up to get to Arvelomi if he has the pace to try and capture that 4th spot. Amazing, honestly, that Rolla's even in 5th right now after having multiple run-ins with the Armco.
Yeah, we don't have to go to it, but Martin Kraytrick had another spin by himself, so he's struggling with his damaged vehicle still.
Let's head back up to the prototypes between Iamaki and Lepisto. Again, championship implications here, with Lepisto potentially losing the championship lead. I think he will, actually, from the points. This would go back to Lepisto. And let's not forget that ahead of this, just a quick mention that Albrecht is our leader, by the way, but it's by a whole 7 seconds. Just he hasn't been having a lot of action, and he's not leading the championship. So these two really are where our focus has been much of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, whoever it is who's ahead seems to struggle a little bit on pace, whereas the guy who's behind seems to be closing up quite significantly. When it was Antti ahead, Arda was the one catching up, and now it's vice versa. So it's interesting to see how these setups are affected by the hot air of the cars ahead of them. So very fascinating to watch, and looks like these GTPs really do have a lot of downforce on today.
I'm not surprised with how twisty this track is. We're coming up to the lap traffic of Joe Dorsha, who's been overtaken by Scurry. We haven't talked about that, so that Milk Zoo Championship swung back in favor of Scurry once again. They come up behind in the hairpin, but they don't get held up, and now it looks like Joe Dorsha going to be able to easily stay off to the inside and let them through. Big gains, though, coming off the corner. Is almost a scary moment there for Lepisto. Not sure if he was trying to pull a drafter, just guessed wrong on which side to go. And that increases it up to 9/10 between Iamaki and Lepisto.
Yeah, and while we're watching this battle, the battle between Reed Miller and Ove Trangrade in the GTOs for 6th position is also tense. These two guys have been side by side for quite a while.
And we've got Alex Moss down pit lane. I'm not sure what happened to him. We'll go and look at that later as we keep an eye on this battle.
Yeah, I can report.
Recover. Go ahead.
I can report Alex Moss and Esko Letiniemi got into one another coming onto the straight. So Alex is probably pitting for a little bit of damage right now.
So I'm trying to get a feel for.
Ooh. Reed Miller is really struggling on pace, Joe.
Yeah, he is, with a little bit of an off coming out of the S's and now through the Dunlop corner down into the Degners. Takes a little bit of a curb to the inside. Another slide out of there. Trangrade definitely looks a lot stronger.
Yeah, I think Reed Miller's tires are starting to go away. We have still 12 minutes left, so this is going to be a big struggle for Reed to hang on to this car for the end of the race. We had a 60-minute race here a couple seasons ago, and these Audis, really, their tires start to fall away. A couple guys took tires during that 60-minute race. Oh, it's Ove off into the grass. He's able to hang on to it and keep his foot in it. Impressive stuff from Ove.
And that temperature hasn't gone away, by the way. It's still 92 degrees Fahrenheit out on the track surface, so a slight increase, not drastic, but giving no relief to our drivers. Trangrade still chasing, and he's going to get a slipstream up the hill. It's a steep climb here to 130R. Maybe he can get a better run off the corner, get himself a shot into the Casio triangle. Let's see what he's got up his sleeves. Just about dead even between them. And I don't think he's quite close enough to send one in, so they're going to stay in position. I was going to say earlier, I was trying to get a picture of the championship, and I think Hagner might tie for the lead after this is said and done, because Neidhart, who has been in the pits for long repairs, about 7.5 minutes, has come back out, but he's down in 19th, and I think that's outside the points.
Yeah, this is very significant. He could very much lose a lot of points today with Joni Hagner pulling away to the 9-second lead that he is. And these battles in GTO continue onward. We're going to take a look at Joni Hagner as he's rolling around at the front of this pack, just trying to stay out of trouble. It's harder than you think in multi-class, especially with the speed differentials we're seeing today.
Yeah, definitely looking smooth from over his shoulder here. And going down to Vili Rolla, who was with him on pace. The other Glacier Racing driver still working on Arvelomi. Rolla not really in the championship. He's down in 10th right now. Not quite been his season. But it is 25 points separating Neidhart and Hagner coming into this thing. And
side by side.
The lead is, yeah, it looks like he's going to be able to get this spot away from Arvelomi with an aggressive move into the hairpin. So nice stuff from the Finn.
Yeah, very close battling between those two. As Villarola, it looked like Arvelomi just kind of gave up the inside. He was worried that Rolla was going to send it into the corner, and Rolla took no second invitation and just jumped right on.
The sad thing is that Phil Lake, who's still winless, has not shown up today, and he lost the points lead last week. It was 14 back. Now he's going to be even farther down. Of course, they do have drop week, so he could try and bring himself back into things. Rolla up to fourth, 3 seconds up to get to Houghton. Does he have the speed to try and run him down? It's a little bit too far away for him to try and catch Olenek at this point because it's a whole 6 seconds from Houghton to Olenek.
Yeah, and we're seeing just coming onto the screen right now, that's P6 in the GTO, the red hooded car of Reed Miller trying to hold off over Trangrade, who's looking every which way to try and get by. These two still battling it out after a couple of laps.
Trangrade would definitely love to try and recover and bring himself back into things in this race, but I think that incident that he had with the GTP really set the tone here in the latter half of it. Only 8 minutes left to go, and even once he gets past Miller, it's 3.5 seconds. Up to Arvelomi is another bit of a bobble. We saw that last time with Miller, just going wide, and this time way too wide. That's all he needs. Trangrade now through to 6th.
Ove Trangrade just looking to that inside, just got Reed Miller upset just a little bit, and that was what was able to let Ove get by. And Ove has some decent pace still left in that GTO, so I'd expect him to be on the back of Nico by the time this race is over.
A bit of an ebb and flow for second in the GTPs. Lepisto dropped back to a 1.5 seconds off of Iamaki, but now he's reeled him back into about 0.7 of a second. They've got a lapped car in front. This is Rob Oldenek's second in the GTOs. So he's going to be able to stay off to the right so they can easily get through.
Oh, that was amazing work for Rob. You see him hitting the brakes a little bit to signal to Antti Lepisto that he wasn't going to take 130R away from him. Good sportsmanship there for Rob.
Yeah, and Rob's raced in those GTPs, so he kind of knows what kind of speed they're going to have and what they need to get through there. So that certainly informed him of what he needed to do as we ride on board with Lepisto, looking up ahead. Now watching as they swing into 1 and 2. Little bit of a gain once again, down to 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, it looks like Antti has got the measure of those first couple corners, and he stays right with Ardo Iamaki as they go through the S's here. It's just fascinating to see how much faster these GTPs are behind one another. We just have a lot of two-car trades that have happened throughout the course of this race in the GTPs.
Not forget about those GTO cars, because I think Reed Miller still hanging on to the back of Trangrade, staying within 0.5 seconds here. So maybe he was succumbing to the pressure. Maybe all those mistakes weren't necessarily pace here, and he's collected himself and is refocused to try and get it back from the Norwegian.
Yeah, I think that you're right about the draft being super effective, especially right now when the tires have gone off of these Audis. The draft is really going to be the only way you're going to gain time around here. They're really struggling with grip, though. You can see as they go through these corners, the car just squirming away from them. It's all four-wheel slides coming out of these sharp hairpins.
And as soon as we went to this, Lepisto dropped back to about 1.5 seconds. So conveniently, for once, the battle went away up for those two in the GTPs. Let's see if Laust Olsen interrupts things. He's going to split them coming into the second half of Spoon Curve and tries to get the power down coming off of it. You can see the car squirming to try and accelerate away. And finally, he's going to leave them be. But now they've already got Jungbluth and Sintez Gindo. This is a battle for position for these two prototypes behind them. Oh, Reed Miller going a little bit off to give them room.
Yeah, these two GTPs that just passed them, they've been battling for the last couple of laps. Aitor Sintez Gindo not able to get by Fabian Jungbluth as they've been trying to make this work. They're going to go onto the axle of Fabian Jungwirth as he's trying to hold off Guindo. Guindo has a great run right now, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything with it into one.
Just a little bit too far back. I'm kind of impressed that Sintez Guindo has gone from 10th to 6th and is working on 5th place right now. Because again, he had contact on the very first lap, and these cars are so aero sensitive, I thought he would be too damaged to really make these sorts of inroads. Certainly hasn't slowed him down. And they're not that far behind from Laust Olsen as well. The Scandinavian driver has been run down by them slightly as he's trying to make his way through Rolla.
Ooh, and they're coming up on the battle for third place with Michael Houghton and Billy Rolla, and this is going to hold everybody up here. Oh, and a move to the inside.
Cheeky little move there from Sintez Guindo. Doesn't quite work out, but still, that certainly shows himself as they're going to split them on either side, as now it's a run down and he gets caught up by the next one. Unfortunately, Michael Houghton in the wrong spot as he serves as a pick, and Houghton goes a little bit wide as Billy Rolla now is going to try and get his nose in there. It all kicks off in both classes at once. Once again, Rolla trying to give a drag race, just not quite to the inside. Is he going to get a little bit of a slipstream? No, he's going to stay.
He's got the run. He's got the run, Joe.
Wide into 130R once again. Rolla's got the guts if I know him, but just doesn't quite have the grip. Here comes another prototype, going to make it 3 wide into the corner as they slide into one another, banging doors. Side by side into the Casio triangle. This slows them up so much that Arvelomi has caught them. Bad exit off the corner. Arvelomi takes advantage of it. He gets to the inside of the fin, but the job is not done yet. He doesn't have the straight line speed as Rolla starts to pull back ahead, covers him off to the middle of the track. So Houghton in 3rd, Rolla 4th, and Arvelomi 5th.
This is what makes Kamel so exciting. These 3 cars battling one another with multi-class action sliding in between them. These guys doing a fantastic job keeping their cars straight through all the chaos, and the GTP's doing an amazing job of doing the same. Everybody battling really hard here.
And all of this happening with about 2 laps to go. Just thrilling stuff out here. That's Steve Bycroft behind them now, and the correct yellow prototype. And he's, this is Bycroft's experience here. He's just waiting patiently. He's got no threat from Krejcik behind him, so he's trying to find a good place where he can just get through without interrupting things.
That place is going to be after this hairpin here. Wow, take a look at that. Michael Houghton taking a very defensive line into the hairpin. You can see it from on board of Bycroft. Oh, and that's a slow car ahead of them. That's Gabriel Genesis who's slow. So everyone having to move past that. That's giving an opportunity to Billy Rolla, who looks to the outside but is unable to do anything. Bycroft still unable to make a pass on these guys.
I think Genesis maybe trying to keep himself out of the way. All right, another big bite gonna happen down this back stretch. And I have to imagine Bycroft's finally gonna take the chance to try and get through.
Joe.
He gets one, but look at the slipstream from Arvelomi. Arvelomi backs out of it, though.
I actually have to take us away from this because the lead in the GTPs has disappeared once again 2 weeks in a row. Justin Albrecht in trouble right now. Ardo Iamaki has closed up to the back of him and is under half a second.
What happened here? Did he have a mistake or did he run into traffic?
He has left rear damage. I'm going to go take a look at it.
Right, that certainly seems to tell the tale right there as we ride on board looking back. And we are on the final lap right now, I believe. But Iamaki, he's got a good bit of straight line speed. How is Albrecht going to be able to hold him back on what is a quick final portion of this lap? Coming down the backstretch, is he going to be a sitting duck? The Finn has been outpaced by Albrecht all race long, but now he's got to make do and make it happen with one single chance to try and attack down to the inside. He covers him off, but look at how slow he is. Iamaki around the outside on the final lap. He's going to take the lead away. And Ardo Iamaki down into the braking zone for Casio Triangle is well clear. No opportunities for Justin Albrecht. A gutting finish for the American as Ardo Iamaki snatches the wins out of his hand.
Justin Albrecht's bad luck continues. He just got into some gone to some slow GTOs through the first corner, and that unfortunately gave up the position. We're up to Joni Hagner in the lead of the GTOs.
Joni Hagner has a 12-second lead. This is going to be a little bit less dramatic, but that 25-second gap, or 25-point gap, back up to Dennis Neidhart is going to absolutely disappear. And with more wins than Dennis Neidhart on countback, Joni Hagner will have the points lead once he crosses the line here. The Glacier Racing driver out of the final corner takes victory here at Suzuka.
We're going to drop back to the battle in P3 of the GTOs. This is between Billy Rolla and Michael Houghton. Houghton actually goes wide in 130R, giving an opportunity to Rolla to pull away. I don't believe Michael's going to be able to get him out of this corner. It's just too tight, too close. Billy Rolla is going to come home with third, Michael Houghton with fourth.
Great stuff between those two. Looking to see if we have other battles coming to the line. It sounds like Sadro trying to take something away from Koivisto. This is for 8th position here in the GTOs. Koivisto a little bit too far ahead, a little bit of a poke from Sadro, just showing himself in the mirrors, but don't think that was a serious move. So Koivisto will retain 8th. Looking through to see if anybody else is still finishing. And I think that is all the battles, unfortunately. I think Nocera was close to Moss, but Nocera is a little bit slow down the backstretch, so Alex Moss going to retain 16th here in the GTOs. That indeed will be all of our close battles out on the track. So let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Suzuka International Racing Course. It's been a stunner here in Japan with action all throughout. We just never had a chance to breathe. But it was Ardo Iamaki with the victory, and that was only by 1.2 seconds over Justin Albrecht, despite Justin being quicker than Ardo all race long. Damage at the end that we didn't get to go and look at, unfortunately, put him down on pace, and Ardo made the decisive move on the last lap to take victory. Lapisto finishing in third place means that he is going to lose that championship lead to Iamaki, so that's even worse for him that Iamaki took the victory there. Laust Olsen, credit where credit is due. We're used to Laust being well down the order, and he finished in fourth today, so good bit of speed from him. Pat on the back for the 27. Fabian Jungbluth with the fifth place finished ahead of Aitor Sintez Guindo, who himself was a hard charger going from 10th to 6th, with Kitty Ingstrom in 7th place and Steve Bycroft in 8th place. Martin Krejcik with a 9th finished ahead of Mike Ruder in the 10th position. Stephen Jones with a quiet race down in 11th. Don't think we ever really saw him. Robert De Filippis in 12th, and Robert Yan Young in 13th. Pablo Suarez was the last of our finishing. GTP is in 14th.
Yoni Hagner had a nice quiet race out there in the lead and took the win, while behind him complete chaos broke out. Rob Olenek comes home with the second position after a couple of incidents, with Voliarola also a couple of incidents for himself, coming home in third. Michael Houghton's going to come home in fourth ahead of Nico Avralomi in fifth position. Reed Miller comes home in sixth ahead of Escoleta Niemi, with Hideki Koivisto coming home in the 8th position. Daniel Sadro in 9th and Franco Scurry in 10th. Juan Ignacio Jorducha is going to come home in 13th, with Alex Moss 14th, Alexandro Nocera 15th, Giulio Forcolin 16th, 17th is Fabrizio Raffa, and Robert T. Murphy is 18th.
Few finishers at the back of the GTOs that unfortunately ran into problems. Genesis, Trangerade, Neidhart in there. Then you start to get into DNFs. Kramer, Erlbach out of the race. Peterson, Pasqua. Zweep started the race but was well back, 18 laps down. Not sure what happened. And Darren Dean was a DNS today. Now, oddly, we haven't had anybody join us in the ready for interview, so we'll wait just a second to see if anybody comes in and wants to talk about what was, frankly, a thrilling race to watch from our perspective. Adam, we were even commenting that this seemed a lot more typical of Kamel series.
Yeah, you know, the driving standards are really are not surprisingly high. They're just really high in this series. We have three wide battles. We have, you know, fast cars passing slow cars safely but quickly. We have great side-by-side action, door banging. I mean, it's what makes Kamel so special, is just the amount of action and the amount of aggressiveness you can see on the track. It's a really fun series to commentate and a really fun series to drive.
It's usually fun to talk to people, but still haven't had anybody show up. So I think we're just going to have to close it out for the day with a big thank you to the Kamel series for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. We've got a merchandise store where you can buy some gear. That is gsrc.storenv.com with the link in the description below. The next race, if you thought this one was chaos, we're at Imola next week, where there are very few opportunities to rest. That'll be Saturday, February 22nd at noon Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.